Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast, sponsored by the Draft Professors. I am here with Draft Professors Christian and EJ, and we are going to be commenting on a number of wide receiver boards that have been submitted to the Draft Professor. But before we do that, Christian, we're about a week before the league year begins. What's the prevailing thoughts going through your mind here as we see all the trades that have happened this week? And I think it's just getting started. But what are your thoughts?
I stayed up late last night to finish my mock draft. I'm glad I did, because had I waited another day, I would have to crumble that one up and start over as well. So, yeah, all is good. We're getting closer to the draft and excited to see what unfolds starting next week.
And EJ, how about you? As you see all these trades go down, you think AJ Brown's going to move?
It's quite possible. I mean, the Eagles' asking price is really high right now, so pretty much this is like a staring contest between Howie Roseman and all these other GMs, because the Eagles' asking prices, they want a 1 and a 2, and he's not backing down off of that. And other GMs are like, we're not giving you all that for 28-year-old AJ Brown. So right now, it's just a stalemate between Howie and the NFL. So we're going to see who budgets first. But the wild card in all this is like AJ Brown may lose his mind in like a month or two and start doing Antonio Brown stuff. Then the price is probably going to go down.
The DJ Moore
so
trade.
When you see
the DJ Moore trade definitely swung the things into Howie's favor.
Exactly, it did. When you see what he went for, how he can really stick to his guns off that premise.
Well, you see, and Christian, I think you kind of hit on some of what I was thinking. So when you see what the trade was for DJ Moore, do you think AJ Brown goes for more than the DJ Moore trade?
I think he would, because I mean, if you ask yourself DJ Moore, AJ Brown, who the better player is, I think most would agree that AJ is the better talent. And when Tyreek Hill got traded, he went for what did Tyreek go for when he got traded? Like 4 or 5
a 1 and a 3 or a 1 and a 2?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
something like that.
So I kind of view AJ and Tyreek as kind of in that same boat with their talent, their form, their age. Kind of
Tyreek Hill was not that close to 30 when he was traded. There's a big difference in the age, though. Right, because
how old was Tyreek when he got traded?
I was going to say Tyreek, I think it was like 26, because Tyreek Hill isn't 30 yet.
Okay, yeah, I thought Tyreek was a little closer to 30 when he got moved.
Well, and you can go ahead and fact check me on that.
He's probably 32, 33 now.
Something like that, yeah.
Is he? I thought he was like maybe only a year older than AJ Brown. So being a Bills fan, the chatter within Bills Mafia is, was it AJ Brown? Was it going to be DJ Moore? Do you go for Tyreek Hill? And then there's some baggage that comes with Hill, right? Mm-hmm. So which of these guys, because Buffalo has to probably make 3 wide receiver moves before training camp starts. Right, so we made one of the 3 moves today, right? But what we were saying is, like within Bills Mafia, is that if you're trading for AJ Brown, you get him for 1 more year. So regardless of what his contract is, his skill set is probably going to tail off. So you have to look at the contract and say, if we trade for him, can we get rid of him in a year?
Exactly. And the contract money goes. I mean, you can get out of his contract in a year. It's just this year is big money. But like the reality is the situation is, I think like we've probably seen the best of AJ Brown already. He's still going to have very productive seasons after this one and the next one. But I think we've seen the best that AJ Brown is going to be. So like from here, from in the near future, the production and the skill set is going to start to go down.
Yep.
And just to clarify, Tyreek was traded after his year 27 season. Okay. AJ just finished his year 28. So AJ's a year older.
Okay.
from a contextual standpoint.
Okay, so I guess Tyreek was already on his second contract.
Yes.
I thought Tyreek was traded before he signed his second contract because the moment he got traded to Miami, they extended it.
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
Yeah, Tyreek was after year 6 is when Tyreek got moved.
Got it. Thank you.
And AJ,
Okay.
AJ's, I always been in the perception that AJ's kind of one of the most misunderstood players in the entire league. There's nothing he wants more than to win. He just wants to be he wants to have a central role in winning. He wants to be a pivotal force on the offensive go-to target. He doesn't want to be he doesn't want to be secondary in a secondary player in kind of a run-centric approach. He wants the ball in his hands. He wants to create plays because he knows what he's capable of. And all the reports over the course of the season, AJ was kind of he was kind of beating the drum for the locker room. A lot of the guys in that locker room were kind of back at AJ. So that kind of tells you where things stand in that locker room in Philadelphia. Like, hey, it's AJ's kind of the voice for a lot of guys in that locker room, and he's willing to take the heat for it. I'll give him kudos for that. So I've kind of always been in the boat. I'll believe it when I see it that they move him. It wouldn't shock me, but it would surprise me if they traded him. But until I see the news come through, I believe he'll be on the week 1 roster.
Yeah, I think a first and a second is really steep. Really steep. Like, I don't even think he's going to fetch a first.
I don't either. I think like the best. I think the best they could do is maybe get like a player in a third or a player in a second or something like that. That's probably what they probably going to end up settling for if they have to trade him. But I mean, best bet is to try to smooth things over and try to keep him.
And I see why they're how he's setting a high bar. He knows he's got players he needs to sign between Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. You're probably looking at Cooper DeJean next offseason. Quinyon Mitchell isn't going to be far behind him. And if A.J. Brown's not on the week 1 roster, he's going to count $43 million against the salary cap next season. So, and they're already kind of up against the number, the salary cap number this season. So, moving off of them as a pre-June 1st. Now, post-June 1st, they can spread that cap hit around a little bit. But if they're trading before the draft, that's $43 million going on their books next year.
So who do you guys think is the next player to get traded? EJ?
That's a tough one. I would say I think it's more. It's going to be more guys going to get released than traded right now. I couldn't tell you who's going to get traded. I don't know.
Christian, any thoughts?
I would have said before I saw the Alec Pierce rumors, I would have said Michael Pittman was one to keep an eye on because a Colts buddy of mine I know says like they love Alec. They would love to keep Alec Pierce, but they know he's going to fetch top dollar on the open market.
Okay. Well, we're going to dive into looking at some wide receiver boards. I have no idea how this is going to appear in a podcast. So we're going to try something here real quick and see how well does that show up. Yeah, that doesn't show up at all. So, okay. So, do you guys have the capability to see the group chat between us?
Yes.
So I'll paste it to the bottom of the group chat, and this is the first one that we're going to do. So this is Randall's Buffalo Bills wide receiver board. So the disclaimer, and I think this is pretty close to Randall's board anyway. I know when we get to Owens had to flip the order of some players based upon if they didn't fit Buffalo, he just moved them down. But as you look at Randall's board, I have a couple of questions on so Randall has Bryce Lance at 12. Do you guys see Bryce Lance going on day 2?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I do. It's the height, weight, speed thing. Like, he's got, he ran a 4.4 at the combine. He's got the legit height. He's got the legit deep speed. I think there's upside to being a 3-level threat as a route runner there. Yeah, so I could see a team taking a gamble on him on day 2.
Okay, and Christian, how about you?
yeah. There's going to be a lot of players who go on day 2. I've got 6 wide receivers total with a 3rd-round grade right now, and Lance is one of them. 4.3, 4.40, 32 and 1/8-inch arms, vertical jump 41.5, 11.1 on the broad, size, speed, explosiveness. Really checks a lot of boxes. Someone's gonna like him as a stretcher on day 2.
Okay, and then we're probably going to do this on nearly every board, but one of the things I'm looking at is where is Chris Brazel and where is Denzel Boston. So before we go into Randall's board, Christian, are you higher on Brazel or Boston?
I'm Boston a lot more. I'm a big fan of Boston.
Okay, and then EJ, which one are you higher on, Boston or Brazel?
Boston. I think he's the more complete package. I think the upside is higher with Brazel because he has like that type of deep speed. But Denzel Boston, he's got sneaky good speed. When you watch him come off the line, he really fires off of the line of scrimmage. But I think he's the more complete package right now. I think he's the more physical player. And I think he's the more reliable player. Like the volatility is more with Chris Brazel. I think it's a higher bust factor with him than it is with Denzel Boston, even though the ceiling may be a little bit higher. But yeah, I think I favor Denzel Boston a little bit more.
Okay, so Randall has Brazel significantly higher than Boston, and by significant, Brazel's at 4, Boston's at 8 on the board. What is the bet on Chris Brazel if he's the 4th overall wide receiver after Tate, Concepcion, and Tyson? EJ?
I mean, the bet is that you're getting a Randy Moss type of player. You're getting a downfield threat that's 6'4", has excellent speed and has high point abilities as far at the catch point. So that's the bet. That's the best case scenario when you're dealing with Chris Brazel. You're getting a guy that can stretch the field and possibly he can develop. We've seen the upside as a route runner, even though he's coming out of that Tennessee offense, which really doesn't prepare their skill position players for the NFL as far as a route tree growth goes. He shows a little bit of the route savvy and the ability to sink his hips. He shows that route upside to be a 3-level threat somewhere in the future. So you're betting on the upside with Chris Brazel. You're betting on the NFL trait being the deep speed and the size, and you're betting on the fact that he can round out the rest of his game to be a more complete receiver.
Okay, and Christian, any thoughts on the bet of Brazel being higher than Boston?
Yeah, because Brazel, he kind of plays the game. He has the style of a speed receiver, downfield threat with his speed, but he also high point the ball like a bigger body receiver. So you're kind of betting on that he can give you the best of both worlds in that manner, where someone who can get downfield but also high point the ball in contested catch situations. But yeah, route running is going to be where he needs to improve the most. Just has to keep refining his technique and expand his tree.
Okay, and then the next question is, where do the two of you have Casey Concepcion? So, Christian, where's Casey Concepcion on your board right now?
I've got him right behind Omar Cooper. If you have a problem catching the ball as a pass catcher, that you're going to get knocked on my board. That's number one thing. You got to catch the ball. Concepcion has too many drops, too many concentration drops. But he's electrifying playmaker, blazing fast speed. You see, he brings the juice on offense with his explosiveness and speed. You saw it with how he impacted the A&M offense. He was dynamic at NC State, carried that over into A&M. So you see the talent; it jumps off the screen. His impact speaks for itself. But you just want to see him clean up the drops.
And where is he ranked for you, either on your overall board or your wide receiver board?
He's my 6th receiver.
Okay. EJ, Casey Concepcion, where are you on him?
Yeah, I'm high on him. I like him a lot. I think he's a 3-level threat. I got him as a top 5 wide receiver in this class. I got a first round grade on him. I think he is like with the drops there. Yeah, there are focus drops. I think they're one of those things that you may have to just deal with him because they're not to the point where he's a total detriment to the team. Because I mean, when you think about it, Terrell Owens had drop issues at times. So it is you gotta sometimes you just gotta take the good with the bad, and that's how the player is. So sometimes he's gonna have those focus drops. It's just that you don't want it to be like a consistent thing. But the thing that about Casey Concepcion that I really like is like he's one of those guys. He's a threat after the catch. I like you can throw a screen to him and he's a threat with the ball in his hand. He can run. He has a route running ability to run everything on the intermediate routes, and he's got the speed to get deep. So he's a 3-level threat. He can do whatever you need him to do at the on the field. What impressed me about him is like 31% of his routes were against press man coverage. Now that shows you one, he has the footwork and the nuance to get off the line of scrimmage against press coverage. 2, he has the ability to create separation all by himself. You don't need to run a whole bunch of bunch sets or stack sets or switch releases or anything like that to get him free. He can get open on his own. That's an A+ trait for a wide receiver. And when you look at the route tree that he runs, about 10% of his routes are in breakers and out breakers at the intermediate route. Crossing routes and slant routes, he runs about 13% of those. 17% of his routes are curl routes. 14% of his routes are go routes. 37 of his targets were between the line of scrimmage and 10 yards. 24 were between 10 and 20 yards. So that's the area that he really does damage in. And even 20+ yards, he got 20 targets in a 20+ yard range. So that just speaks to the versatility he has, the threat ability that he has on the field. So I think he's a guy, like I comped him to Ladd McConkey earlier in the season, and I think that sticks. He's that type of player. Ladd McConkey, Zay Flowers type of guy. He's a guy, I think he has the upside to play like a boundary X receiver, but he's best as a movement Z, to where you give him a free release, you can use his speed, he can do damage all over the field. So like I like Casey Concepcion a good bit.
Yeah, you give him space, he's gonna capitalize.
Yeah. So EJ, if Casey Concepcion is the number 2 overall wide receiver on Randall's board, what is the bet that he is number 2, with Carnell Tate being the only receiver that's higher?
The bet is that he turns into everything that I just said, that he turns into like that Ladd McConkey type of player, to where he's immediately a threat with the ball in his hands. He's immediately a deep threat. And the route running comes through. And you're also betting on the fact that the drops do not become an issue. You're betting on the fact that the drops don't get in his head, and it becomes a game by game, week by week thing. And you're betting that the drops don't make the coaching staff put him in the doghouse for like half the season or something like that. So you're betting on all the positives that his traits show, and you're betting that the negatives are minimal. That you're betting that his good far outweighs his bad, because I think the drops are going to happen. I think they're going to carry over every now and then. You're going to see some of those focus drops, but I think you're betting on the fact that his good is going to far outweigh his bad.
Christian, anything you want to mention about the bet for Casey Concepcion to be wide receiver 2?
Yeah, EJ put it best. You know, you're banking on him being an alpha in the receiving room, being a number 1, controlling all 3 levels of the field, getting down the field as a deep threat, creating after the catch on quick hitters, and then but maybe most importantly, controlling that intermediate part, using his suddenness, twitch, and explosive route running to create separation and get open in the intermediate part of the field.
Okay. So Randall's wide receivers, just for the audience, and then Kristen, I'm going to ask you at the end, do you see a conspicuous wide receiver missing? And it could be more than one, and then EJ, I'll give you that question too. But Randall's wide receivers, are Carnell Tate, Casey Concepcion, Jordan Tyson, Chris Brazel, Makai Lemon. I believe all 5 of them are true first-round grades for Randall. Omar Cooper Jr. is 6, Elijah Surratt 7, Denzel Boston 8, Ted Hurst 9, Chris Bell 10, Jeremy Bernard 11. I believe Bernard he sees going in round 2, so 11 receivers in the top 64. With Bryce Lance at 12, Antonio Williams at 13, Brennan Thompson at 14, Zachariah Branch at 15. Thompson and Branch for Randall are day 3 players. So, and that's also where it comes in for Buffalo. Branch might be higher on Randall's board, but we were doing a Bills podcast, and we're like, we Buffalo shouldn't touch Branch unless he's there in round 4, kind of thing. So that was some of the logic there. But Christian, anybody that you think is conspicuously missing from Randall's top 15?
I would throw Malachi Fields, and I'm still high on him. I know he didn't quite have the combine that his fans were expecting, but if you were going in expecting Fields to run a sub 4.5 40, you're kidding yourself. Like he's not going to run a blazing fast 40 time. He was going to show his skill in the on-field drills, and I thought he thrived there. So the 40 time, although it was a little disappointing, it doesn't really affect my evaluation of it at all. He's still a top 10 receiver to me.
Okay, EJ, anybody that's conspicuously missing from Randall's board, according to you?
Yeah, I like Chris said, I was going to say Malachi Fields. I like him a little bit better than I like Elijah Surratt. I think he is like the 4.6 that he ran at the combine. It shouldn't surprise anybody. When you look at his tape, he's not over the top guy. He's not a speed guy. What he is he's a big guy. I think in this class, I think he's the best at the catch point. When you think of my ball mentality, you go watch Malachi Fields catch the football. That's my ball mentality. And you've seen it at the combine with his 10-yard split. I think he has the short area quickness to create separation. That's where he's going to win. He's going to win in the short and intermediate routes, and he's going to be that possession type of receiver. He's not going to take the top off of a defense, but as far as blocking, as far as the physical aspects of the wide receiver position, he's got that down pat. I think he's just going to be a productive wide receiver. So he's definitely one of the top 15 wide receivers in this class.
Okay, so the next board that we're looking at is Steve's board. So Steve podcasts Thursday at 7. We just did a great offensive line show about an hour before this one started. So shout out to Steve. Thank you for submitting your board. Christian, how high are you on Omar Cooper Jr.?
Very. He's my 5th ranked receiver in the draft. 4.42 40, 1.55 on the 10-yard split. I love him. I love him after the catch in the intermediate part of the field. I put him in my latest mock draft. He screams Rams and Sean McVay with his twitch, his wiggle after the catch, his body control on the boundary. I mean, his catch against Penn State. Yeah, that's vintage Omar Cooper. Body control, get his feet down, and create after the catch.
So, Christian, what is the bet with Omar Cooper Jr. being the 4th receiver in Steve's board? What is Steve betting on, and a team that's going to take Omar Cooper Jr. that high? What are they betting on?
He's a more explosive Deebo Samuel, highly versatile. You can use him in a variety of different ways and different packages. Throw him in the backfield, put him out wide in the slot. Just get creative with him, get the ball in his hands, and let him go to work.
Okay. So, EJ, where are you on Omar Cooper Jr.?
Yeah, I like him. I got him in that. I think I got him right in that range where I got Casey Concepcion. He is like he's just like a solid player all around. Like he's a guy that you call plug and play. You could put him as your slot or your movement Z receiver and just let him go. He's just like a comp I got on him is Robert Woods. He's a guy who can run routes. I mean, he can get deep on certain defensive backs. He can be a 3-level threat. And you like the toughness that he plays with, because like a lot of these catches he makes, he's getting destroyed by the defender, but he still holds on to the ball and he pops right back up like nothing ever happened. So like you like the toughness that he plays with. But he's just a solid prospect all around. He at the combine, you see he passed all the physical hurdles that you needed to see. So like he's one of those guys you just line up and play. He can play anywhere on the field. So like he's one of those wide receivers you really don't have to worry about. We don't know if he's going to have those spectacular wow plays, but he's going to be your volume catcher in an offense. He may not have those big over the top bombs or anything like that, but he's going to be move the chains. He's going to be a volume catcher. He's going to like do damage to a defense in zone, and he's going to get open sometimes in man, depending on his matchup. But he's a receiver that you really can count on.
Okay, and then EJ, where's Ted Hurst on your board?
I think I have Ted Hurst a little bit lower. I got him. I think he's just made my top 10. Ted Hurst is, he's a high upside guy, over 6'3", 6'4", came in at like 200 pounds up from the Senior Bowl. But like he's, height, weight, speed. That's what he is. When you're getting Ted Hurst, you're betting on one that the competition he played against isn't inflating how he looks. Two, you're betting on the refinement of his game, because the majority of his routes are go route, hook, and curl and slant. So his route tree is not as expansive as say like a Jordan Tyson or a Carnell Tate. So you're betting on the fact that he gets in an offense and he takes to the route tree, he takes to the route running, not just to running the routes, but the nuance to running those routes, the reading of the coverage, being on the same page as the quarterback with sight adjustments and everything like that. You're betting on all that coming rather quickly, because the physical traits are all there, but it's just that one, I don't know if we saw him against high level cornerbacks, and two, you got to see he's a little bit raw in his game, so you want to see a little bit more refinement. So you're betting on all that coming up good in a relatively fast fashion, and that's why you would take Ted Hurst a little bit high.
Yeah, so Steve has Ted Hurst as his sixth wide receiver. And Christian, would you suggest that Ted Hurst, Denzel Boston, and Chris Brazel are all going to play wide receiver a similar way? They're going to be a boundary X, win on the outside.
Yeah, I think you could experiment with Brazel in the slot a little bit, and Boston did as well. Yeah, I think Boston and Brazel you could play with in the slot. Hurst, yeah, but I do think Hurst will primarily be a boundary X.
So what is the bet if Hurst is higher than Boston and Brazel?
You're looking for big playmaking. He's got the long strides and the speed to pull away once the ball gets in his hands. So you're looking for explosive playmaking, get downfield, secure tight catches, and then if he gets in space, you're looking for that home run speed to take the distance.
Okay, so I'm going to read off Steve's top 15, and then EJ, if you think that maybe there's a player missing, feel free to point it out. But Steve's top 15 were Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, Mekhi Lemon, Omar Cooper Jr., Casey Concepcion, Ted Hurst at 6, Denzel Boston, Chris Bell, Chris Brazel, Antonio Williams at 10, Jeremy Bernard, Elijah Surratt, Bryce Lance, Malachi Fields, Zachariah Branch. Any player conspicuously missing from that, EJ, for you?
I was wondering where, I haven't seen his name yet, but I wonder where the guys are with Brennan Thompson, the wide receiver from Mississippi State. Okay. And where is everybody at on Skylar Bell as well? Because like from UConn, because both of those, like Brennan Thompson, he's more of a one-trick pony, but it's a hell of a trick. I think he's probably the best deep threat wide receiver in his class. But the problem with him is he's tiny, and his hands can be a little bit suspect. So you worry about that. But he's a guy I wonder where everybody's at with him on. And Skylar Bell is like extremely productive receiver. He's a similar player to Omar Cooper Jr. to where he can line up everywhere. He's got some toughness, and like playing at UConn, every defense knew he was getting the ball, but yet they still couldn't stop him. He's one of those type of guys. So he has that dog in him. So I was wondering where everybody is with Skylar Bell.
So Skylar Bell was the first one off the list because we were looking at 15 and Skylar Bell's 16.
16 and Thompson's 19. Okay.
Cool.
Yep. And so far I see a no, I was saying one thing. I see a theme with both of these lists. I'm gonna save it to the end though, because I want to see if I'm right or not. But I see a theme about a certain player.
I see a theme too.
Yeah,
I do. So I do.
We go. Did we just do our first tease on the podcast?
Maybe. Like I'm seeing a theme, but like because for Steve's board and Randy's board, we're gonna do next. They shared their boards with me, but I didn't read them. I'm reading them literally out loud on the podcast for the first time. So, like, Steve, thank you for sharing. I bookmarked the tweet, pasted the graphic, but I didn't read it when I pasted it.
Of course, it's the audience tuned in the entire show.
Yeah. So now we're doing Randy's board. Randy podcasts on Saturdays at noon. So, Randy, thank you for submitting your board. This is a good one because we have some differences here. And that's one of the reasons that we're doing this. So, EJ, where are you in Jacoby Lane?
Not in love with him. He is, you love him at the catch point. That he's one of the smoothest wide receivers. He can high point the ball. He's one for the contested catch. He has the size for it. But I'm not in love with his route running, and not in love with his acceleration, not in love with the movement as far as the shorter intermediate routes, not in love with him after the catch. So it's pretty much his A trait is the contested catch, and that's not enough. So I want to see if, what else does he have in his bag? That's my whole thing with Jacoby Lane.
Okay. Christian, where are you in Jacoby Lane?
Yeah, I was disappointed with his Senior Bowl. Had a good combine week testing wise. Runs a 4.47. 4.47 for how he plays the game is a pretty good time. But yeah, you just want to see more than this. We want to see more ways to win than the same thing over and over again. It feels like Jacoby. He really only wins one way. I've got early day 3 on him, but I think he's got a chance to maybe sneak into day 2, but I've got early day 3 on him.
Okay. So Randy has Jacoby Lane as the 6th wide receiver on his board, Christian. What is the bet if you're taking Jacoby Lane that high?
You're hoping he can refine his route running so he can create that wiggle, get free, where he can get a bit of a runway in space where he can create some chunk plays with that 4.47 speed. So he's a threat to get downfield, but he's also a threat to snap his hips, cut towards the middle, and create some chunk plays over the middle.
Okay. EJ, any thoughts on what's the bet if Jacoby Lane is the 6th highest wide receiver?
You're betting that he's been holding back all year and he's just been waiting to get to the NFL to show his new bag of tricks and everything. But I guess I'm guessing the bet is that he's that dominant of a contested catch player to where, you don't really matter if he's running routes or whatever. You got a quarterback that trusts him and they're going to throw him the ball. And you're betting on the fact that like he's going to be in an offense where they can move him around and where they can get him the ball in favorable positions. And so where like him Moss and a receiver is the outcome for most of his passes. So that's really the bet. And you're betting on like some more of the athletic traits coming out. You're betting on him getting some muscle added to him in a strength and conditioning program to where he can muscle a little bit more receivers at the NFL level. So you're betting on his one A trait to be maximized to the fullest extent.
Okay. And then Randy has Malachi Fields as his wide receiver 8. And we spoke about Malachi Fields, and I know on Randall's board and Owen's board, we don't want Malachi Fields anywhere near Buffalo. We're like, that is too Keon Coleman. So there was a reason that he was not on Randall's board. Randall, I think, does have him graded higher, but because we were looking at a Buffalo Bills wide receiver board, there was probably a reason that Fields was off of it. EJ, what's the bet if Malachi Fields is the 8th receiver on the board?
You're betting on the strength. You're betting on the contested catchability. You're betting on the fact that you're betting on him being able to separate at the NFL level. You're betting on him to be able to separate in the short to intermediate range, and you're betting on him to be able to get some yards after the catch. You're betting on him to go to an offense to where that type of skill set is needed, because say like you said against if he goes to Buffalo, that's a bit of a redundant skill set with
Keon.
Yeah, I forgot his name already. but say he goes to a place like Miami. His
name too, so yeah.
I know. but you know what though? You know what? With Keon Coleman, not just a quick tangent. With Keon Coleman, I think most of these GMs, they don't miss on the talent, they miss on the person. I think the Bills missed on Keon Coleman, the person, because I think the talent is still there. He can still be like a Juju Smith-Schuster type of wide receiver. I think his maturity, his work ethic, and all that, I think they missed on that part. And that's usually where GMs miss at. They miss on the person, not the player. But yeah, as far as Malachi Fields goes, I think if he goes to a place like Miami, to where you got a smaller, faster receiver in Jalen Waddle, now he can supplement that with his strength underneath. I think that would be an ideal place for him. So you're betting on the fact that all his strengths are featured in the offense to where he fits at, and then you're betting on him going to an offense where they're not asking him to be the top wide receiver.
Okay. And then Christian, any thoughts on what's the bet with Malachi Fields being wide receiver 8?
Yeah, you're hoping for exactly what you saw at the Senior Bowl, where the time speed is just time speed. He plays a lot more quicker than that. Got the quickness and twitch to stack defenders, get some separation, and just dominate at the catch point. It's a bad comp, but kind of like a poor man's Mike Evans, where you know what's coming and it doesn't matter. He's going to find a way to win.
Okay. So Randy's wide receivers, I'll read off his top 15. Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, Denzel Boston, Mekhi Levin, Casey Concepcion at 5. Jacoby Lane, Chris Brazel, Malachi Fields, Omar Cooper Jr., Ted Hurst at 10. Elijah Surratt, Jeremy Bernard, Chris Bell, Bryce Lance, Zachariah Branch, and the trend continues. But any thoughts either on a player that you see missing or anything else on the board, EJ?
I'm seeing I'm seeing the cat getting in the way. I'm seeing a lot of love for Chris Brazel. I mean, like everybody, I think like that upside is really enticing to everybody, and I'm debating with myself. I'm doing Bryce Lance in my eval, and I'm like, what's the difference between Brazel and Bryce Lance? So like, I don't see a whole lot of difference, but that's one thing I'm noticing. I'm noticing a lot of love for Chris Brazel.
Got it. Christian, any thoughts on Randy's board as you just look at it in whole? Yeah,
the name I'm gonna point out is Antonio Williams. I think he's gonna be a really good slot receiver in the league. He's got the twitch to separate. Has some trouble staying healthy, but he's got the twitch in his hips, foot quickness to get some separation, and good hands to complete catches through traffic, even with his smaller size.
Okay. And then the next board, this is JT Olson. So JT is awesome because he podcasted the entire fall. We did Friday nights together. But then because we do the Friday night mock drafts, JT doesn't podcast anymore. But he is one of the most active draft professors in the chat, both in the chat on podcast and in the group chat. So JT, huge shout out to you. I have a lot of respect for you, JT. So thank you. So I'm looking at JT's board right now for the first time. JT has Jacoby Lane at 7 as well. So both JT and Randy making a big bet on Jacoby Lane. I want to give props because we want to point out that JT and Randy, to the best of my knowledge, they may have never met each other before. Right? We're all draft professors. We have the same, 87-person group chat. I don't know if they've ever met before, but they're both really high on Jacoby Lane. So Lane is JT's 7th highest receiver. Let's just reiterate. So what's the bet with Jacoby Lane being at 7, Christian?
Yeah, you're just hoping like the dominance is the physical dominance at the catch point on the boundary is going to be his calling card, and it's going to be too much for defensive backs to overcome. He's just going to be able to overpower corners on the perimeter, but you also hope he can give you some juice in the intermediate part of the field, develop his route running so he can work the middle of the field on some crossers, intermediate patterns, and hope he can become more than just a one-trick pony.
Good. So EJ, out of the 4 boards that we've done, this is the first board that broke the trend that I saw. Did the trend that you saw break too?
Oh yeah, that's one of them. At wide receiver 1, that's one of the traits. That's one of the trends I saw. The other one is still going. The one I see. So I'm waiting to see the rest of them.
Okay. So but you and I saw different trends. You and I, because I wasn't even looking at the top of the board.
Okay.
Okay. So EJ, Skylar Bell is the 14th receiver on JT's board. This is the only board that we have covered so far in this podcast that has Skylar Bell in the top 15. What is the bet on Skylar Bell?
The bet on Skylar Bell is just that he keeps doing the same thing that he's been doing. He's been a volume catcher at UConn. What he does is like 20%. They move him around a lot. So 20% of his routes that he runs is against press coverage, and press coverage is pretty much that's the measure of a wide receiver. If you can get off press coverage, then you can play wide receiver in the NFL. Press coverage is the defensive back putting hands on you, lined up right there in front of your face, putting hands on you and physically trying to restrict you from getting off the line of scrimmage, because that 5-yard window is a contact window where they can basically just maul you. So you need to be able to get off of that. 1, you need footwork to do that. 2, you need play strength and hand usage to get off of that. So 20%, like a lot of that, 20% is not high because it's a lot of the wide receivers at the top of these boards. Their percentage of routes against press coverage is a little bit higher, but 20% is a good sample size to show you that he does have a release package to get off the line of scrimmage. He has the excellent amount of quickness, the route running ability. He's what you call a natural separator. He has the quick start ability to where he can slam on the brakes and the defensive back his momentum is still carrying him out of the play. So that's how he creates his separation. As far as his route tree, he runs a lot of screens at UConn. 31% of his targets were screens. That just shows they trust his ability to run after the catch, and pretty much they just want to get the ball in his hands as quick as possible. 13% of his routes are go routes, and then another 13 is curl routes. So they use him on the outside, they use him in the slot, but pretty much he's the focal point of their offense, and he's the driving force of their offense. Everybody knows he's getting the ball, but yet he still gets open and gets the ball. That's a testament to the type of player he is. And you like what he came in at. On film, I thought he was a smaller player, but he checked in at like 6 foot, 190, a solid size for a wide receiver. So you're betting on him just being being able to get open at the NFL level. You're betting on him being able to be a complementary receiver to hopefully the receivers that you have already in the building. So he can be like your primary slot receiver, your security blanket for your quarterback, and your run after the catch manufacturer play type of wide receiver too. That's what you're betting on.
Christian, where's Skylar Bell on your board?
He's flying on my board. I moved up just behind Ted Hurst at 11. But I think the most important measurement for him, 10-inch hands. Here are a few other receivers that measured with at least 10-inch hands. Carnell Tate, 6'2". Elijah Surratt, 6'2". Jacoby Lane, 6'4". Josh Cameron, 6'1". So he's got mitts for hands. And when you give him a runway, he's got the speed to take it to the house. I'm surprised he's not near as elusive as a player with his athletic gifts would be, but his slant route's an absolute killer. Reminds me a lot of Odell Beckham with how explosive his slant patterns. How just like OBJ ran the best slant in the league for 5 years, and Skylar Bell's slant is lethal. And it's by default he's going to get better quarterback play in the NFL, and he was still insanely productive at UConn. So I'm quickly becoming a big fan of Bell.
Okay. So we have one more board. Oh, and I didn't read that one out loud. So I should read this one out loud. So JT's board is Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, Denzel Boston, Makai Lemon, Casey Concepcion, Omar Cooper Jr., Jacoby Lane at 7, Chris Bell, Malachi Fields, Chris Brazel, Jeremy Bernard, Ted Hurst, Antonio Williams at 13, Skylar Bell, Bryce Lance. Okay, and we have one more board to go, and that's Owen's board. So EJ, what was the trend that you were seeing? So before we do Owen's board, let's see if the trend continues with what you saw, I think, with the first 3, but you didn't see on the 4th. Was it that everybody had Tate at 1?
Yeah, first one was a shout out to Christopher in the chat. He knows no Deion Burks in anybody's list. And the second one is everybody's low on Zachariah Branch. And I'm a lot higher. I guess I'm the only professor that's a little bit higher on Zachariah Branch, but everyone I saw, he's either at 14 or 15 at the bottom of the list. So I'm waiting to see what Owen's board looks like. But it seems like everybody's lower on Zachariah Branch.
So one of the things that I noticed was that Branch and Antonio Williams were in the back 5 of every board except JT's. That was the trend that I saw. Right. So like typically when we do evaluations, right, and we're doing boards, nearly everybody has the same top guy. That's usually how these things go, right? Everybody likes Ruben Bain. Everybody likes Arbel Reese, right? Everybody likes the top players. Usually you see the volatility 11 through 15, but Branch and Antonio Williams were in everybody's board except JT's. JT didn't have Branch in his top 15. But good news for you, Buzz, because Deion Burks is the 14th receiver on Owen's board. So he made this one. Okay, so I'm going to start at 15 for Owen. And Owen has been in on Deshaun Stribling since the summer. So Stribling has dropped a little bit for Owen. And Stribling on this board is still a day 3 grade. So the 15th receiver is a day 3 grade. And this is also a Bills-specific board. Right? So like Malachi Fields is probably graded, or no. Malachi Fields is not graded high for Owen. Owen has around 6-7 on Malachi Fields. He's out.
Oh, wow.
Like, out.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did Malachi Fields do to you, Owen?
And then, so anyway, so Deshaun Stribling, Christian, where is he on your board?
Late
Have
day
you
3.
evaluated him?
I've watched a couple games, but he's fine. I've got late day 3. I mean,
Okay, EJ, Have you watched Deshaun Stribling from Ole Miss?
Yeah, I haven't done his eval yet. I like the way he tested at the combine. But I like the size. I like the size speed combo. He looks to me like I want to see if he has the hips for running routes at the next level. That's what I want to see. I want to see the hip sync. I want to see if he's that type of receiver, or is he just some special type of receiver to where you can only run him on vertical routes. But that's what I want to see. And another thing with Ole Miss, they're another team that they're, as far as offense goes, it's not that much of a pro style offense. But so you always wonder about the translation there. But yeah, he's a guy I've got on the list that I got to do an eval on.
Okay, so I'm going to pound the table for Deshaun Stribling. So I know that in my fantasy leagues, I'm drafting Stribling. I don't even know what team he's going to, but I'm going to grab Stribling either in the 3rd round or as soon as the draft ends, I'm putting him on my team. And the first advice I'll have for anybody evaluating him is make sure you look at the Oklahoma State tape. Okay, there was a reason that multiple draft professors were really high in Stribling in the summer. You want to watch the Oklahoma State tape. He went up a level in competition, and then he got to a bad quarterback, right? Because Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss was not starting at the beginning of the season for Ole Miss. So Stribling didn't do well until Lane Kiffin left. So even if you look at from what Owen is saying, if you look at the early versus the late, you want to look at the games after the coach left, right? Because I believe Ole Miss had a playoff run. I think Ole Miss did qualify for the playoffs, right? So look at those games for Stribling.
He played well in those games. He played well. He played well in those games.
Yeah. So Stribling, this is a receiver you're not going to see anything from him year one, but when you get him in your room, he is going to be fighting for reps and snaps on game day. So there's something there because Stribling can be a gadget receiver, right? So when he was at Oklahoma State, they used him a lot of different ways. And then Owen has Deion Burks at 14. So EJ, what is the bet with Deion Burks?
The bet is that the explosiveness, the route running ability, he overcomes his size limitations because he came into the combine 5'9", 180. That's not very big, but you're betting on that he overcomes the size limitations. You're not looking at him to be some type of contested catch receiver. He's a separator. That's what he is. He uses his speed. He uses his quickness. You're betting on the return ability. You're betting on the special teams ability for him. You're betting on the explosiveness. I don't think he showed all of his skill set this past year at Oklahoma, but I think he has more in the tank. But he's a wide receiver that I like. He's a guy that you can put him in a slot. He could be like your vertical type of slot, the guy that you use to stretch the field. He has the ability to run the short or intermediate routes to where he can snap off those dig routes. He can run those slant routes. And the fact that I like he when he catches the ball, he immediately transitions into a running back when he gets the ball in his hand. So he's a guy that he's a real run after the catch threat. And that's what I really value in my wide receivers.
Christian, thoughts on what is the bet with Deion Burks?
You're looking for an electric playmaker. Wan'Dale Robinson is a guy who comes to mind for me. A super dynamic slot receiver, just has a knack for getting open. And when he gets the ball in his hands, he is explosive and twitchy. So I don't think he's not really. I don't think he's ever going to be a deep threat, but someone who can be a kind of a juiced up gadget guy who can get the ball in short parts of the field, get chunk plays, do it the hard way, basically.
Okay. So let's dissect some of Steve's here. So Eric McAllister at 17. I think the bet there is that he stays out of legal trouble. But Christian, what are your thoughts on Eric McAllister?
Yeah, there's a lot of baggage, but he's a super talented player. If it weren't for the off-field stuff, I'd probably have a late day 2 to early day 3 on him. I think he's an incredible talent, but yeah, he's got to stay out of trouble. Isaiah Bond is a guy who kind of comes to mind when you, in the grand scheme of things, he was kind of a late day 2 guy and then got in some legal trouble, ended up going undrafted. Ultimately, the further down the board, the less talented you are, the less your grade is, the more important it is for you to be reliable off the field. Because top 10 players like Jalen Carter had a little dilemma off field because the Eagles ultimately felt that the juice was worth the squeeze, the talent was worth the risk.
It's funny you say that because Buffalo was at the same draft where Buffalo grabbed Matt Araiza.
Yeah.
Right, the punter, right? But it's funny because when all of that came down, it was almost a similar comment. Well, if he was a wide receiver or something that the offense was going to rely on, they may have bitten the bullet, but he was a punter. Right? So it's much easier to replace than if he's like a cog on the offensive line, defensive line, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
EJ, what are your thoughts on Eric McAllister?
Yeah, the bet is that you bet that he improves his decision making. Because you're looking at, like I said, like sometimes teams miss on the person, not the player. He has talent. He can be a legit NFL wide receiver, but what's going to happen? Who are you going to be when we give you a big bag of money? Are your decisions going to improve? Are you going to have that impulse control to where you can think ahead and say this might get me in trouble? So pretty much you're betting on the person. You're betting on him becoming the person that you need him to be so that he can represent the NFL properly.
Okay. Does it surprise anybody if I predict Eric McAllister is going to be like a 6th or 7th round draft pick by the Dallas Cowboys? Does that surprise anybody?
Or the Raiders.
I'm glad that made you laugh. Okay. Skylar Bell. So we touched on Skylar Bell, but Steve, if you stepped away, we'll do Skylar Bell again. What is the bet with Skylar Bell for you, Christian?
There's a couple ways where he can get the ball and he's just automatic. I mentioned how dynamic explosive slant route is. It's almost unguardable. Look at his stat line: 101 catches, 1,278 yards, 13 touchdowns last season with bad quarterback play. He's gonna get a boost on that by default. So, EJ brought up Lab McConkey earlier when talking about was it Concepcion kind of who you kind of comped him to. I think Bell could become a similar type of player.
Okay.
Yep.
And then EJ, Brennan Thompson. What's the bet on Brennan Thompson?
The bet is that he continues to be that deep threat, that 4.2 speed. It just terrifies defenses on the field. The bet is that he gets a little bit stronger to where that like if he's not going to be bothered by contact, because sometimes there are some cornerbacks that are going to be able to run with you. There are some cornerbacks that are going to be able to get hands on you throughout your route stem. So he's not going to be running free through zones like he was at Mississippi State. So he's going to have to get a little bit stronger to play through contact. As far as catch radius and all that, that's really not going to be his game because, size is limited. But you're betting on, first and foremost, you're betting on the speed and the threat to take the top off the defense. You're betting on that creating space for the rest of the players in your offense. So he's like, I wrote this in my eval with him. He's a player that just his presence alone on the field can impact your offense because defenses have to account for what he can do on the field. So he can be I don't expect him to be catch 85 balls for over 1,000 yards, but he can be a low volume catcher, but still be a high impact receiver because that threat to go over the top is always going to be there as long as he's on the field. So that's a trait in itself because you're always a threat to score whenever he's on the field. So that helps out a lot. So that's what you're betting on when you talk about Brennan Thompson.
Okay. Okay, so I want to go back to Owen's board, right? So, okay, and I think between the two of you, I think Christian's higher on Omar Cooper Jr. than EJ is.
Probably.
And then I think Christian just had to duck out there for a second. EJ,
Okay.
if Omar Cooper Jr. is the 11th overall player on Owen's board and has a higher grade than Carnell Tate, what is the bet on Omar Cooper Jr. being that high?
The bet is that he's going to be at the high end, like a Jackson Smith and Jigba type of player, a guy that you can move around the formation. That's going to be a complete volume catcher. He's going to get you yards after the catch, and he's still going to be able to take the top off of defense as well. That type of mold is what is successful in the NFL. When you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, you look at JSN, you look at Egbuka over in Tampa Bay. That type of archetype is what's successful in the NFL, and that's exactly what Omar Cooper is. So if he's your top wide receiver, then that's what you're betting on him becoming.
Yep. Okay. So now I have a hot take from Owen that he said on our podcast Tuesday night. So the Indiana offense of this year, of 2025, is a diet version, or excuse me, he said is a Walmart version of the LSU offense with Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow, and Jamar Chase. Buy or sell it?
So this Indiana offense was a little bit more run heavy, a little bit more tougher in the trenches. That LSU offense was Joe Burrow, balls to the wall. Everybody gets the pass. Go get it. Because I mean, you had Jamar Chase, you had Justin Jefferson, you had it was another receiver there too. I forget what his name was, but I think it was Terrace Marshall. But they were throwing the ball all over the yard there. But I think this Indiana offense with Roman Hemby and Kalen Black, I think they were a little bit more tougher in the trenches, a little bit more run heavy. Whereas I think the LSU offense was a little bit more Burrow dependent, to where they featured him and they featured Jamar Chase and just let them go after it with the passing game.
Okay. So one of the comments that Owen made about why Omar Cooper Jr. deserves to be this high is he said, well, if you look at how that LSU offense used Justin Jefferson, so Justin Jefferson and Omar Cooper Jr. had a similar position in college, right? Because they were primarily slot receivers in college. But Justin Jefferson is used everywhere in the NFL. He's not just an X, not just a Z. He'll be moved around. He says it's the same thing with Omar Cooper Jr. Buy or sell that Omar Cooper Jr. will be able to win out wide.
I mean, when you're out wide, he can be, say, like they can have him as out wide as the Z, to where he can move out wide. Because the thing is, like, as far as, I don't think he'd be best served as your boundary X receiver. The thing with the X receiver is the X receiver does not go in motion, and the X receiver is right there to be pressed whenever a defensive back feels like it. So you're not scheming anything open for him. He has to get open all by himself, which he can do. But is that the best usage for him on a snap to snap basis? I don't think it is. I think he should be used exactly how Indiana used him, as a slot and as a movement Z type of player, to where he's coming off of switch releases, he's coming out of bunch sets. I mean, he can play, because inside outside versatility is like kind of the norm now for wide receivers. They want all their wide receivers to be able to play every position, so nobody's really going to be a stagnant inside or outside if they don't have to be. But I think Omar Cooper is just that guy that should be moved around like he was at Indiana. Like, it's no reason for to put him in a box and say he's just an outside guy or he's just an inside guy. So I think he's going to win all over the place.
Okay. Well, Christian had to drop. He had a family emergency come up, so he is sorry that he had to go. EJ, do you want to let everybody know who you are, how they can follow you and find all of your draft content?
Yeah, you can catch me every Thursday night here on the Mrs. Irrelevant podcast. We're going to be talking draft all up into the draft and even after the draft because we jumping right back into 2027 after the draft is over. You can see my work that's coming shortly in the Rogue Analytics Draft Guide. I'm doing position evals on running backs and wide receivers. I'm about 25 wide receivers deep right now. So pretty much you can say I do have a top 25 there. I'm also looking at all positions for this draft. You can catch my work on Twitter or X. Pretty much I'll be doing posts of, my thoughts, my scheme breakdowns, player breakdowns, scheme fits for players, and a little bit of Eagle stuff. But pretty much all you get there is film-based opinions, no rage bait, no clickbait, no hot takes. And always, I will never, ever say the word generational.
Did you see the Draft Professor chat where people were dropping in? Anthony Russo started doing summer scouting, and the word generational started coming in with some of the wide receiver prospects for 2027. Oh yeah, God. Anthony's done. Anthony's draft cycle ends apparently in March, and I figured out why.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is that, like, this is lying season. So if your evals are done March 1st, you don't let any of the media stuff really affect you, and you just start working on the next draft class.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Like you eliminate the noise.
Yep. And like Anthony's hot take is Ohio State will have 2 first-round wide receivers next year. And then he really likes
Brandon Ingram?
No, they got somebody in the portal.
CJ Carr. Oh, really? Oh, I gotta see that. Okay.
Yep. Yep. So actually, Steve's an Ohio State fan. Steve, who is Ohio State's wide receiver that just got in the portal that Anthony Russo thinks is going to go in round 1? So, but while Steve is getting us that info, I want to remind everybody, first of all, to give EJ a follow, give Christian a follow. We can't put this content out without EJ and Christian. So give them a follow, please, and thank you. You will see EJ every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern. You will also see EJ a week from Friday emceeing another 32 podcaster mock. So we're going to do a 3-round mock on Friday. We do them every Friday. You want to sign up for this week's? Go to Draft Professor at NFL Draft Fanatic. No, I am Fanatic. The pinned post is the sign up for that week's mock. So we'll have a lot of fans drafting from the chat. We'll get to talk about this week. It's TJ Wengert and Jake Shivnick. So we'll get to hear about TJ's and Jake's boards, some guys maybe that are higher on than consensus. And we'll get to do the same thing with EJ when he podcasts next week on Friday. We have an Epic Mock 26 coming up. That is a 32 podcaster 7-round mock with trades April 9th, 10th, and 11th. That will be by far our biggest podcast of the year. It always is. So there's about 6 openings for podcasters left. So if you want your podcast to join, contact me. I'm at Draft Professor right here. Send me a DM, tag me in a tweet, raise your hand, pop into a podcast chat, whatever. Just let me know that your podcast is interested. I will try to get you looped in. And there we go. Steve got us. So the last name is McCoon. So anyway,
nice. Thanks, Steve.
Yep. And Draft Professor, we will be doing summer scouting. I believe the first summer scouting podcast will be Monday, May 3rd. It might be Monday, May 4th, but it's whatever that Monday is, will be the first summer scouting podcast. And we are going to cover the top 800 players in college football. And we will have them all covered by July 4th. So that's what happens when you have 24 podcasters working together. You'll see EJ breaking down the quarterbacks, right? So this podcast will be breaking down the quarterbacks, but everybody kind of has their assignment. And when everybody does their assignment, what you get is the best 800 players in college football. We will have them identified for you. And we will be covering college football like no other channel all summer. So buckle up. We don't stop at the draft, Professor. So if this draft happens, we immediately move on to the next class. Right? I take like a week off of the podcast. I don't know what to do with myself.
The NFL don't stop, and neither do we.
Yeah. So for EJ, Christian, myself, and the 85 podcasters at the Draft Professor, thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your Thursday night, and we will see you on a podcast again tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.